My name's Rich Thorpe. I'm with Western Truck and Auto here in Denver, Colorado. We've got a 2003 Chevy Suburban that we brought brand new from GM. We've run it in our fleet for all these years. It's got 371,000 miles on it. We've been running Kendall GT1 synthetic blend oil in it for the entire life of the vehicle. Oil changes anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 depending on when we can get it back in for services. We've never had any engine failures or problems with it. We've never had any major repairs. Kudos to Kendall for all the good years of service we got out of the vehicle. It's a good product and it's worked well for us.
Hi, I'm Teddy Lazarus, Technical Coordinator of Phillips 66 Lubricants. I want to thank you for joining us in another segment of our series of engine teardowns. In the past, we've mainly focused on our heavy-duty engine oil lineup, looking mainly at diesel engine oils running in Class 8 over-the-road trucks. But today we're going to mix it up a little bit. Our friends at Western Distributing here in Denver, Colorado, who have been longtime Kendall customers for 20 plus years, have offered up a 2003 Chevy Suburban with an LS 5.3 liter Chevy engine. This engine's been operating with Kendall GT1 530 Simblend motor oil with 371,000 miles on it. So we're going to tear into the parts, take a look, see what everything looks like. Okay, we're going to start here kind of on the bottom end. Talking a little bit about these Chevy LS 5.3 liters. It's kind of interesting. They actually lubricate from the top down. So it comes up from the oil sump, through the top end, down through your push tubes, your lifters, through the cam bearings, and then down into the rods and main bearings. So we're going to start here with the pistons. When we look at the pistons, right now we're kind of looking at the thrust side of the piston on the skirts here. You can see that there's a little bit of wear there, medium wear, but these scratches cannot be felt with a fingernail, so they're pretty much just superficial. Really good for 371,000 miles. Another key point is we're looking at carbon deposits on the pistons. There is no carbon below the top landing, so all the rings are free. None of them are stuck or broken. As we look into the bearings, this is really impressive for this many miles. We're looking at the upper bearing. So this is the load carrying portion of that bearing. Very little wear, medium wear on these for this many miles. Focusing on the oil pump, when we pulled the gearing out of the oil pump, there is virtually no wear on these gears. So it speaks real good for the high quality Kendall products that they were using. Looking at the oil pickup tube, this is phenomenal. There are no deposits in the end of this. So that speaks directly to the detergency of our product. Okay, and to finish up the rotating group here on the bottom end, we're going to take a look at the crankshaft, mainly focusing on the main and rod journals, looking at the thrust area on the crankshaft, and we'll talk a little bit about the bearings. So when we look at the crankshaft, we do see some oil staining a little bit, but there are no high ridges to be felt on the journals. We don't see any excessive wear here on the thrust for any lateral movement of the crankshaft. When we look at the bearings, a lot like the rod bearings, this lower bearing is what carries the weight of that crankshaft, and there is very little wear there. We look at the thrust side, again, not a lot of wear on those thrust bearings. Upper bearings look phenomenal. Of course, they have a lot less load, but it shows you that there was a good oil film thickness going on there. When we come over to the block, we're looking at a lot of the same thing. You know, we're looking at those upper bearings, we're looking at oil holes, all the galleys, looking for buildup or plugging. All that looks really, really good. 371,000 miles. When we flip the engine over, we've already talked about the pistons and rings, but when we look at the liners or the bores, there are no ridges to be felt at the top end. We still see some crosshatch, so this engine looked really, really good for this many miles on it. All right, we're gonna kind of wrap it up by looking at the top end here. You've probably heard me say in previous videos that I'd like to focus on the top end because I think this is where a lot of the wear occurs. We're talking about mixed oil regimes on the top end. You've got boundary lubrication, we've got rolling contact wear. We do see some full film hydrodynamic lubrication as well in some of the cam bearings, but a lot more boundary lubrication. So just to kind of recap for us for just a minute, this engine's got 371,000 miles on it. The vehicle that this was operating, it was mainly used for shop running and driving around the Denver metro area and stop and go traffic. So you had a lot of stop and go, a lot of idle time. Plus you take into account the climate here in Colorado. You go from the really nice weather in the summer to extremely cold weather in the winter. So I think this really speaks to how these parts look. If we start by looking, as I said before, this engine feeds oil from the top to the bottom. So when we look at the top end, we've got oil that passes through the push tube, up through the rocker arm, and also comes up through the lifter. So that oil has to transfer from these places and then, like I said, lubricate the bottom end. When we focus on the wear, when we look at the lifters here on the cam rollers, there is no visible steps, no scratching, no pitting or flaking. This looks really, really good for this many miles. When you look at the contact surfaces on the lobes, on the camshaft, so this is where those rollers ride, you don't see any scratches, no scuffing, no pitting. It looks really, really good. We look at the journals where the cam bearings ride. We don't see any excessive wear there either. Looking at the rocker arms themselves, everything still moves freely. Even where the button contacts the valve surface on the valve stem, very little wear there. A little bit of polishing, but not bad. All right, I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and I want to put out a special thank you to Western Distributing for allowing us to use their facilities and for providing the engine that allowed us to showcase our Kendall product. If you're interested in using our Kendall products, please visit our website at kendallmotoroil.com or call our tech hotline on the number at the bottom of your screen.